What's up, locals? Welcome to a brand new series called Throwing Expensive Discs. It's time to throw the time lapse.
This is local. We are local.
So, judging from that opening sequence, I'm sure you can tell, but this time lapse is beef. So glad you are here for this video. I'm stoked for this one. Obviously, it's pretty awesome to get our hands on this all new time lapse from the Simon line. Most of us obviously are gonna buy this disc and it's gonna sit on a shelf or on a wall. We're gonna collect it. And most of us aren't gonna throw this disc. According to what we picked up from the review that Foundation Disc Golf put out, they claimed that the stock stamped time lapse that's coming will be a little bit less overstable to this run. This is sort of the more overstable one. A lot of people are going to use this disc as a collector disc. It's not going to be thrown, and for the average arm, this disc will be, sort of overstable to a point where it's not going to be that useful for the average player. And the people that are throwing it are either people that love having sort of that quirky or unique disc in their bag. You pull it out for a round and someone's like, hey, that's got the proto stamp on it, and you go, yeah. So some people I know like to have that kind of vibe when they're playing the round. The majority of us aren't going to throw this disc, which is why I'm going to throw this disc. You caught a few in the opening sequence there, but for me, unless I was putting this thing on an aggressive ante, I really wasn't getting a flight out of this disc that was like, something that I actually kind of deem useful for myself. For me, not typically leaning to, say, a 12 speed, I think this disc will be much better suited to a bigger arm. I've said it before, but we are at elevation here. We're at about 1,000 meters above sea level, which means this disc is going to fly a little bit more stable for me. And enough talking, let's give it a few more throws. We're up on this elevated tee pad here at Southview Links here in Calgary. It's kind of a pretty tee to throw from, and hopefully we can get a few decent flights out with this disc to finish up our review. Yeah, it's just fighting. For an average, mediocre arm like myself, it needs so much more ante if I actually want to make it hold that line a little bit. As a beefy disc, it's definitely got an argument to be a forehand disc. It's that, if you got a really good snap on your forehand and you can get it out a ways, that could be a really interesting use case for it. Because if you're like me, who naturally and lazily often releases my forehand with a bit of an ante or anhyzer angle, all of a sudden this disc could have a use case. But obviously, when you're paying what you are, because of who Simon is in the sport and, the brand and the name and all of the, everything, that this is the beginning of this new line with him. This is obviously that first disc, and, because of the limited amount of them, this disc is, definitely going to be more of a collector for people. But that was a pretty nice flight, actually, for a forehand. Again, I'm very much still learning to throw a forehand, but I quite like that disc in that situation. That's episode 1 of Throwing Expensive Discs, featuring the Simon Lizotte time lapse from the brand new Simon line. Had fun throwing this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I don't think this is a disc that most people are going to throw, and if you were kind of curious how, for an average mediocre arm like myself, throws a disc like this, the iconic, brand new, just released time lapse, there you go. And if you're new to our channel and you've never seen us before, thank you so much for stopping by. Please consider subscribing. We've got so much stuff coming this fall. There's so many cool brands doing so many cool things. We are always seeking out, the newest, the latest gear in the sport. So if stuff like that interests you, definitely consider subscribing. Thank you so much for checking us out. And as always, this is local. We are local.